Maybe more light would be needed. I don't know. Maybe. There. Oh, that's okay. Hello. Hello. How are you? Sarah MacArthur here, talking today about Project 2025 and letting you know how serious this is and how much we need to pay attention to what's happening in our country, because the agenda of the manifesto of Project 2025 against our communities, against our way of life, against the entire Constitution is well, it's horrendous. There's just no other way of saying that. Okay, I wanted to actually start off tonight instead of ending with On Tyranny. Remember we talked about On Tyranny is Timothy Snyder's 20 Lessons from the 20th Century. He's the Yale professor that wrote this. So just chapter 2, really briefly, defend institutions. It is institutions that help us to preserve decency. They need our help. Do not speak of our institutions unless you make them yours by acting on their behalf. Institutions do not protect themselves. They fall one after the other unless each is defended from the beginning. So choose an institution you care about, a court, a newspaper, a law, a labor union, and take its side. And I think we can agree that President Trump is attacking our criminal system. That's the Justice Department, and he is really trying to ruin that institution. And within Project 2025, the plan is to disband the FBI, the investigators for the Department of Justice, which is insane. And they want to review every single case that's opened and decide whether or not they're going to continue them on day one. So we have to defend that. I mean, is the FBI perfect? I'm the first person to say it's not, but they do a better job most of the time than they don't do. And the Department of Justice doesn't deserve this kind of stuff. So let's talk about what happened. Okay. This is really funny. I hope I have it. What did I do with it? It is, it's a post pointing out that we have a 34 count convicted felon running for our president. And what did he say? He said, oh my gosh, I can't find it. Are you serious? Where is that post? Hold on. Oh dear, I'm so sorry. What did I freaking do with it? Come on. Why does the phone do that when I want it to behave? Well, library. Okay. Nope, that's not it either. Oh, great. I don't know what I did with it, but there is this point. Hunter Biden just went through court, and his father, the president of the United States now, said he would honor that system and he would not pardon him. Okay. And then you have Trump, who has done every single thing he can to delay. But the problem is that the Republican Party, which is no more and isn't a real political party anymore, has absolutely supported him in his efforts to not be held accountable for his bad behavior. So the law, I mean, one of the jurors that came out of President Biden's son's trial, Hunter, said, well, he's not above the law, and he did it. He did this terrible, horrible thing and bought a gun. And so because he bought that gun, he's going to have to pay the piper. Whether that actually includes jail time or not, I don't know. But you know, look at the dichotomy of them blaming the Democrats for holding President Trump accountable for committing fraud, for hiding business records and fraudulently saying that he'd paid money back to a lawyer that he didn't pay money back to. He was paying him the money that that man took to pay off that porn star because he didn't want anyone to know about it. Not his family. He didn't care about his family knowing. What he cared about was the fact that somebody might know, and it would have been right on the heels of that tape about the bus where he was overheard, and the microphone for Billy Bush, the reporter, was talking to him, and he was overheard talking negatively about women. So this is not a nice person. He's never been a nice person. And before he was even president, he had 4,000 cases against him. So I will show you this one. Oh, for freak's sake. Oh. Mike Pence found classified documents, and he alerted the FBI. Joe Biden found classified documents, and he also alerted the FBI. Trump stole classified documents, hid them, and refused to return them, even after being asked for a year by the National Archives, who knew he still had them. So if you're still pretending there's no difference, you're just being a jerk. Sorry. There's another word on that post, but I won't read that one. Okay. Back to the defending part. We tend to assume that institutions will automatically maintain themselves, even under the most direct attacks. And I personally have heard people say, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know why you think that democracy is not going to stay, because we have rules and the Constitution. And I'm like, wow, you are not paying attention to anything at all. This is the very mistake that some German Jews made about Hitler and the Nazis after they formed a government. So on February 2nd of 1933, for example, a leading newspaper for German Jews published an editorial expressing this mislaid trust. We do not subscribe to the views that Mr. Hitler and his friends, now finally in possession of power they have so long desired, will implement the proposals circulating on Nazi newspapers. They will not suddenly deprive German Jews of their constitutional rights, nor enclose them in ghettos, nor subject them to the jealous and murderous impulses of the mob. They cannot do this because a number of crucial factors hold powers in check. And they clearly do not want to go down that road. When one acts as a European power, the whole atmosphere tends towards ethical reflection upon one's better self and away from revisiting one's earlier oppositional posture. That was the view of many reasonable people in 1933. And that is the view of people now. Oh, Trump won't do that. Wrong. Trump and his cronies and his dark money and the Heritage Foundation are planning to do exactly that. Like if you want to talk about the border, they're planning on separating families again and deporting mass amounts of immigrants, people here legally. They're talking about disbanding huge swaths of the government and changing it completely. They're talking about taking away the power from the three equal branches and just centering it on what's called a Unitarian view on the president and giving him all the power. So when you say you can't do that, you can. Oops, forgot to do that. Disconnect? Okay. The mistake is to assume that rulers who came to power through institutions cannot change or destroy these very institutions, even when that is exactly what they say, what they have announced that they will do. Revolutionaries sometimes do intend to destroy institutions all at once. And this was the approach of the Russian Bolsheviks, if you've taken any Russian history. Sometimes institutions are deprived of vitality and function, turned into a simulacrum of what they once were. So I'm imagining a very small portion of what they used to be. And so that they gird the new order rather than resisting it. This is what the Nazis called Geschlottung. I don't know if I said that right. It took less than a year for the new Nazi order to consolidate. And by the end of 1933, Germany had become a one-party state in which all major institutions had been humbled. That November, German authorities held a parliamentary elections without opposition and a referendum on an issue where the correct answer was given to you to confirm the new order. And some German Jews voted, as the Nazi leaders wanted them to, in the hope that this gesture of loyalty would bind the new system to them. And I think we can all agree that that didn't work out well for the Jewish people in Germany in 1933, all the way up to 1945. So when you say that it can't happen here, you're absolutely wrong. Democracies last on average about 250 years, and we're at year 248. So, chapter 3 next Wednesday. Okay. I said I would talk tonight about the Department of Housing and Urban Development, and if I can, I'm going to get to some of the Department of the Interior, especially because some of what they want to do is really horrendous. This is the view of the people that the elitists, the ones who want to change the government, the Heritage Foundation, and all those organizations that I had mentioned earlier, all those people that contributors and the companies that they come from, the 8 pages listing all the people in the 90 different institutions, conservative institutions that are trying to take over this country and turn it into a white Christian nationalist theology, where religion is the only religion is going to be Christianity, which is, I'm supposed to be a Christian, and I abhor the idea that they want to turn this country into a Christian national society. So, a lot to think about there, a lot to unpack. Okay, Department of Housing and Urban Development. This is what they said. HUD programs tend to perpetuate the notion of bureaucratically provided housing as a basic life need. What? And they fail to acknowledge that these public benefits too often have led to intergenerational poverty traps, have implicitly penalized family formation in traditional 2-parent marriages, and have discouraged work and income growth, thereby limiting upward mobility. That is how they view people that live in public housing. The majority of people that live in public housing are disabled and elderly with low incomes. But that's what they think. So their first thing is they want to reset HUD, and they want to specifically do a broad reversal of anything that Biden's administration has done with corrosive programs, ideologies across the department's programs. Get rid of the woke ideology. They want to implement an action plan that redelegation of authority to a cadre of political appointees. I've been saying that all along. Political appointees are going to take over, and they plan on firing, whether it's legal or not, they're going to fire all of the civilian structure and experts and people that live there. So that's kind of scary. They want to reverse HUD's mission creep of over nearly a century of program implementation dating back to the New Deal. That's how much they hate our country, is anybody that has a democratic idea that thinks taking care of others, helping others, being with others, providing housing, providing insurance, providing medical care, and having those things not be something that will put you in the poorhouse. They think that if you believe that, you're a bad person. Then they talk about, they want the headquarters, the HUD headquarters. They say HUD has 10 regional offices. HUD program offices also interface with various networks of implementing organizations such as locally chartered public housing agencies, PHAs, and federal, state, and local government and judicial bodies, as well as such private industry participants as mortgage lenders. So they want the secretary to delegate authority to various entities across an array of HUD programs. The secretary also oversees, boring stuff, okay. Each of the following offices should be headed by political appointees, except where otherwise noted. And I couldn't find one that was noted. I looked, and I couldn't find it. So, Office of Administration, Office of Chief Financial Officer, Chief Information Officer, Office of Public Affairs, Office of Congressional and Intergovernment Relations, headed by a Senate-appointed person. They want it to be a political person. Community Planning and Development. Those are the people that handle the Community Development Block Grant, which includes disaster recovery funding and the Home Investment Partnership Program. So suddenly your town has been wiped out by a flood or a fire or something like that, and they're just going to go, yeah, no, it's not worth it to us to put that town back up. No money. Office of Public and Indian Housing. They want them to all be political appointees to run these things. Office of Housing and Federal Housing Authority, headed by a dual-headed Senate-confirmed AS and Federal Housing Commissioner or acting Federal Housing Commissioner. The Office of Housing oversees the implementation of the department's project-based rental assistance multifamily housing portfolio. It's Section 202, supportive of housing for the elderly program, disabled persons, and they think that they would rather not have people running it that actually care about those people. They just want to have people that are going to do what they want and be loyalists to them. The reforms proposed in this chapter, there are like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 more. General Counsel, Policy of Development Research, the OIG, Field Policy and Management, all those. They all want them to be run by a conservative Republican who has signed a loyalty pledge to President Trump. Here are the pillars for reform with HUD. If implemented, the reforms proposed in this chapter can help a new conservative administration to use its Article 2 powers. That's the power grab, taking it away from Congress, which is Article 1. Article 2 is the executive branch. To rectify bureaucratic overreach, reverse the expansion of programs beyond their statutory authority, and end progressive policies that have been put in place at the department. It is hoped that a future Congress under conservative leadership will enact legislative reforms of HUD programs with or without congressional action. In other words, we don't care if we have to actually follow the law. We're just going to ignore that institution. And are we supposed to defend institutions? Yes, we are. However, it is vital that a conservative administration immediately institute guardrails against HUD programs to remove the administrative state's bureaucratic overreach of Article 1 authorities. That's the power grab, thereby ensuring formal execution of Article 2 process and personal reforms of the sort outlined below. So, outlined below, first day and first year administrative reforms. Immediately assign all delegated powers to politically appointed PDAs and DASs and other office leadership positions. Change any current career leadership positions into political and non-career appointment positions. We have never done that. I can't say never. I don't know my history that well, but it's generally considered to be a strongman thing to do. It's not considered democratic. And they want to use senior executive service transfers to install motivated and aligned leadership. The president should issue an executive order making the HUD secretary a member of the Committee on Foreign Investment in the U.S. I'm sorry, what? And basically what they're saying is that they are tired of foreign, especially China, foreigners owning our real estate. And they're controlling. They want to get them because they own trillions of dollars worth of real estate secured across the HUD's portfolio. And they're raking in money by having HUD people stay in those homes, and the money's being sent overseas. I don't actually disagree with that. The secretary should initiate a HUD task force consisting of politically appointed personnel to identify and reverse all actions taken by the Biden administration to advance progressive ideology. Immediately end Biden administration property appraisal and valuation equity policies and reverse any Biden administration actions that threaten to undermine the integrity of real estate appraisals. Do you understand how that works? They're going to devalue anything that they want and then jack up the price. If you're politically aligned and you want to make money, then you're going to do what they say. The Office of Secretary should recommends proposed regulation put forward under the Trump administration that would prohibit non-citizens, including all mixed status families, from living in all federally assisted housing. That is what the Nazis did. Oh, you're Jewish? You can't live here. Does this sound great? Does this sound like the country that you want to live in that is supported by the Constitution? Defend your institutions, and our document, our Constitution, is one of them that you need to defend. Local welfare organizations, not the federal government, should step up to provide welfare for the housing of non-citizens. Wow. Isn't it our job to make sure that people that immigrate over here, especially legally, are successful? Because they didn't exclude legal versus illegal. They said anyone, non-citizen. You're not a citizen if you're an LPR. The Office of Secretary should execute regulatory and sub-regulatory guidance actions that would restrict program eligibility when admission would threaten the protection of the life and health of individuals and fail to encourage upward mobility and economic advancement through household self-sufficiency. Where admissible, HUD should implement reforms reducing the implicit anti-marriage bias in housing assistance programs. I didn't know there was one. They should implement maximum term limits for residents of these programs and end housing first. Policies so that the department prioritizes mental health and substance abuse issues before jumping to permanent interventions in homelessness. So, in other words, they don't want to give housing to anybody that has a substance abuse problem or a mental health problem. You have to solve that problem, and then we might consider giving you a house to live in, which is the complete opposite of what Finland has done. Finland has said, we're going to give you a house and help you get those problems solved so that you're not out on the street freezing. And it's done remarkably well. They want to statutorily restrict eligibility for first-time home buyers for the single-family housing programs across federal agencies and government-sponsored enterprises. Now, they should increase the mortgage insurance premium for all products above 20 years. So no more 30-year loans, only 20-year loans. And that way, you can all pay off your home faster. They should encourage wealth-building home ownership opportunities, which can be accomplished best through shorter duration mortgages. Ideally, Congress would contemplate a fundamental revision of FHA's statutory restriction of single-family housing mortgage insurance to first-time homebuyers. This would include, with support from HUD leadership, moving the Home Equity Conversion Mortgages Program once again to its own special risk insurance fund, revising loan limit determinations. In other words, we're going to cut you off. You're not going to be able to buy anything. Providing statutory flexibility for shorter-term products that amortize principal early and faster. People can't even afford to buy anything anymore. They can barely afford to rent anything, and we have eons and eons of homeless people because they can't get a job that pays them a livable wage. And why is that? Oh, wait, corporations are doing that to people. I just, connect the dots, people. I'm getting a little cranky about this. It's one thing to read it silently to myself, but as I'm telling you guys about it, I'm so outraged. They have some longer-term goals for reform considerations. Congress has charged HUD principally with mandates for construction of the nation's affordable housing stock and enforcing standards for decent housing and fair housing enforcement. Regardless of intent, HUD's efforts have yielded mixed results at best. Okay, there was the Fair Cloth Amendment capped HUD's public housing portfolio, which means in order to build new housing, you actually have to then sell off some of the old public housing and sell it to a private investor before you can do that. And Bill Clinton did that in his administration. Longer-term reforms of HUD rental assistance programs should encourage choice and competition for renters, encourage participation by landlords where appropriate, and encourage non-elderly, able-bodied adults to move towards self-sufficiency. And this can be pursued through regulations and legislative reforms that seek to strengthen work requirements, limit the period during which households are eligible for housing benefits, and add flexibility to rent payment terms to facilitate the movement of households towards self-sufficiency. The first part makes it sound like they're trying to help you. And the second part says, yeah, if you don't fit our mold, and we're only gonna give public housing to the elderly or the disabled. And if you're an able-bodied adult or you're a single mother, you're no longer going to get that house. We only want people in the public housing, and only for a limited amount of time, and only. It's just crazy. The turn towards mobility vouchers constitutes an abandonment of America's public housing stock, and efforts to increase competition in the public housing market must not come at the expense of local autonomy and the ability of cities, towns, neighborhoods, and communities to choose for themselves the sort of housing they want to allow. Freedom of association and self-government at the most local level possible must remain primary considerations in any concerted effort to increase competition in the public housing market. And the only word that comes to my mind when I hear them say that is discrimination. We don't want public housing in Roswell. We're not going to have any homeless people in Roswell. They have to leave. We'll give them a bus ticket out of here. We've been accused of that already. I don't know if it's true, but that's what putting it back down and not making it a federal mandate, making it a local mandate means. Oh, well, they can do whatever they want. They can just do that and just discriminate. Just like in Texas, they can just, put a law in the books that says, we're going to charge you with murder if you have an abortion. A conservative administration needs to oppose any efforts to weaken single-family zoning. Along the same lines, Congress can propose tax credits for the renovation and repair of housing stock in rural areas so that more Americans are able to access the American dream of home ownership. That sounds great. Entire local communities through greater private investment, productivity, and employment opportunities, increasing tax revenues. That's their goal. Finally, and more fundamentally, Congress could consider a wholesale overhaul of HUD that contemplates devolving many HUD functions to states and localities, with any remaining federal functions consolidated to other federal agencies. For example, by transferring loan guarantee programs to the Small Business Association, moving Indian housing programs to the Department of Interior, moving rental assistance, mortgage insurance programs, and GNMA to a redesignated housing and home finance agency. Any remaining federal functions, they want to devolve them. Evolve is growth. Devolve is shuttering, and they want to close it down. So HUD is on the chopping block. Did you understand that? I hope so. All right. It looks like I don't have a huge amount of time left, but under the Department of the Interior, and this is across the whole book, they are putting profits for corporations over anything to do with people, individuals, and if you don't fit their design of an individual, and our planet's health. And so they want to drill, baby, drill. So anything that, I'm not going to go into the whole thing. I think the one thing that I really want to tell you about Department of Interior is they want to abandon withdrawals of lands from leasing in the Thompson Divide of the White River National Forest, Colorado, the 10-mile buffer around Chaco Cultural Historic National Park in New Mexico, restoring the compromise forged in the Arizona Wilderness Act, and the Boundary Waters area in northern Minnesota, if those withdrawals have not been completed. Meanwhile, revisit associated leases and permits for energy and mineral production in these areas in consultation with state elected officials, Republican state elected officials. Rescind the Biden rules and reinstate the Trump rules regarding BML waste prevention, the Endangered Species Act, in other words, get rid of it, and critical habitat exclusions, the Migratory Bird Treaty Act, and CEQ reforms to NEPA, which I don't know what that means. I think it means National Petroleum. Right, anyway. I'm not going to go into the rest of it because I haven't gone through all of it yet. But that really jumped out at me. In other words, Biden protected Chaco after Trump lost his election and is no longer the president. And what they want to do, basically, you can look at this entire list of laws, SB, Senate, blah, blah, blah. And they want to just rescind all of them. People drill, baby, drill. And I don't have a problem. We need oil up to some degree, but we don't need to destroy our planet in the pursuit of corporate profits. I think the thing that I want to point out to you today, I've got like my self-imposed 30-minute schedule here. My friend Ainsley, hi Ainsley, if you're listening, she actually, here we go. Ainsley posted this. In case you're unaware, Exxon is facing over 20 lawsuits, including one by the state of Connecticut, where she still lives. I was from there. For its intentional distribution of disinformation regarding global warming. Exxon was not only aware that the human burning of fossil fuel directly contributed to climate change, but ironically, their research in the matter was not only definitive, but more accurate than any of the government-sponsored studies on the subject. I will attach a link to this lawsuit. There's two, actually. And I will attach a link in my thing. I'll ask Matt for help, my friend Matt, to see if he can help me attach that for later on. It's not good. None of it's good. It's all bad. And it's just insane to me that these things are happening. Let me see where my thing is here. Oops, there we go. Hold on. Oop, no, go back here. Oh, okay. Here's the one that I wanted to start with. When prosecutors, judges, and jurors do their jobs and Donald Trump is found guilty of 34 felonies, the system is rigged and a deep state conspiracy. But when prosecutors, judges, and jurors do their jobs and Hunter Biden is found guilty, it's the right outcome. You got it? I mean, it couldn't be more clear. It couldn't be more clear that this is a problem. Oh my God, wait, hold on. Where are you going?
Recruit invite.
Oh, okay. Have fun.
Bye.
Bye. I'm on my own for dinner. I'm going to eat a hamburger. That was mean. Oh, here he comes. He's back again. Other good news today, the FBI raided a corporate landlord for illegal rent hikes, and it's maybe the coolest thing the FBI has ever done. Monopoly Roundup, FBI raids big corporate landlord over nationwide rent hikes. And when you go to that story and see it, it actually talks about the FBI has raided landlord giant Cortland Management over price fixing collusion. It's the most consequential criminal conspiracy of our time. From oil to food to rent, we're beginning to understand that inflation is a direct result of corporate greed and cartelization. Working people are being robbed. It's a massive scandal deserving major headlines. But our media is not doing their jobs. And so this is a problem. Okay, that's a lot of information to throw at you all at once, and I'm so sorry. But we only have so many Wednesdays before the election, and I'm hoping, I would really like it if you would subscribe. I want you to like my thing, and I want you to share it with your friends. So copy and paste the link of this episode or segment or whatever you want to call it, and send it off to your friends and ask them to please listen. That Project 2025 is probably the most horrendous blueprint on a march to authoritarianism that I've ever seen. And President Trump doesn't care about you. He just told you that this weekend at his rally. I don't care about you. I just want you to vote for me. His words. He said that. It's not messed up. It's not fake. So, I mean, I don't care about you seems to indicate that he doesn't care about what happens in this country as long as he's safe and he doesn't go to jail and he can get rid of anything that's in his way or that isn't loyal to him. And the conservatives are fine putting him in office because they are going to manipulate him. So I just thought I'd share all that with you. I'm going to go get a hamburger and we'll see you later. We'll see you next Wednesday. But thanks for watching.